Hey, everybody. Today we're going to do a short and sweet one. 30 minutes, Craig, is going to be the limit. No pontificating on your end, okay?
No problem. No problem.
You can do this?
Yeah, I can add 30 minutes of value, I think.
Right. Well, we're going to talk about something I've been thinking about, especially on the heels of last Friday's conversation in our mastermind. And actually, you're in my phone conversation yesterday, is 3 skills that a dental entrepreneur needs to display, exhibit, learn, whatever it is. These aren't the only 3, Craig. These are just something that I was thinking these would be a pretty imperative thing to have. So we're going to go through this.
Okay, let's define what a dental entrepreneur is. What is a dental entrepreneur, Pete?
So a dental entrepreneur is someone who has a clear vision of what they want to do with a scope of dentistry outside of their own 2 hands.
Okay. So said another way, simply, would you agree with the fact that a dental entrepreneur is a person who runs a business that if they didn't produce in it would still make money?
Yeah. And that could be positive $1.
Yeah.
Right. But it's gearing towards what they do with their own hands or cost of labor as being an augment to their ecosystem, not the only thing.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I think that's very important. So thank you for that.
Yeah. And not everyone, I think we've made this abundantly clear, especially on one of the previous pods we've done. Not everyone needs to ascribe to this. Not everyone needs to become a dental entrepreneur. As a matter of fact, some people probably are not well suited to do such, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
Right. It's a different skill set. It's a different journey. And if you just want to, be an amazing clinician and bang out amazing dentistry, like you can do incredible, as we've illustrated on previous pods. So there's 2 forks in the road, but if you choose the fork of the entrepreneur, which is honestly why I chose dentistry, Craig, then I feel like there's some things that are incumbent upon you to either know that you need to have or to start developing, so to speak.
Can I say one thing as a clarifying point
please.
as well? Just not clarifying to you, but clarifying to the audience. Now that we have, we've taken 150 or 200 masterminders through this process, and we got to know their dreams, their goals, and help them execute a plan. One of the things I realize is that there's a lot of what I call prescriptive consultants out there, meaning they give a very specific prescription. So without mentioning names, there's many that are very popular that are just going to teach you how to become the best, most efficient, profitable dentist. They're going to tell you things like associates are not really a good idea, or go fee for service because that's the most efficient way to extract the profit for yourself, or let's have a lean and mean team, or have your wife work there or your husband work there and don't pay them. That's the way to make money. And that's cool if that's what floats your boat. And if you asked my father loves practicing dentistry, that would have been great for him. But the Bulletproof ethos in our ecosystem is really designed for those that wish to become a dental entrepreneur. It doesn't mean that you have to turn your back on clinical dentistry, but as Pete so carefully said before, your clinical scope is an augment. It's on top of. So practice makes X amount of dollars without you, $1, $100,000, $200,000, whatever it is. Plus, when you show up and do your 3 days a week, that's additionally profitable. So we do really well with people who wish to throttle the business side because it's a totally different skill set. And Peter and I languished for probably 10 years trying to figure out while we were dual tracking, being very highly skilled dentists, producing a lot of money and managing the business on the side.
Before I talk about number 1, which is you need to project confidence for your team and lead with confidence with that authenticity and your vision. What I want to also illustrate, Craig, is going back to consultants. We have had people in the past say, hey, can you guys just come in and do X, right, for the day? And can you lead and do this? And our answer is always no. And the reason being is because it will detract from number 1 here. If a team sees a consultant or a coach or a quote unquote dental hero come in and fix things, so to speak, it leaves a vacuum when they leave. And the team says to themselves, this is why we are in the business of coaching and really elevating through our mastermind, elevating leaders to become stronger leaders and amplify their team. Is because if a consultant comes in and does a bunch of magic tricks and then leaves, it creates a vacuum. right? Once they leave that vacuum, the people are saying, wait, what happened to that person that was here, right? And now the doc owner entrepreneur is sitting there saying, well, I don't know, right?
Yeah.
And the team is saying, well, why wasn't that you, kind of thing? They're thinking to themselves, why wasn't that you? So I don't love the idea of on-site come in and do some magic tricks and leave, because I think it relieves an entrepreneurial vacuum.
Yeah, it's like when you send your dog for dog training, the trainer trains him, but he lives in Milwaukee. Like, you know, it doesn't work. Like, you don't have the, you know, not like you said, they have one master. So I love what you say, project with confidence. And I want to dissect what that means to me. You said
Okay.
in the slide, for those that are not watching, it says project with confidence, lead with authenticity and vision. In order to be confident, you have to know where you're going, or else you're like a sociopath. Like, you know, like you have to have a clear understanding where you're going. And I think that's where most of our dental masterminders, that's why we start with visioneering, what's important to you. If you don't get that step, if you don't have clarity, we can't help you. So we've had people in the past that said like, hey, I want to create X, Y, and Z. And we're like, great, let's go. And then a month later, like, no, I really want to create C, D, and E. And then maybe I want to create a little X, Y, Z. I don't really know where I want to go. How can you help someone that doesn't know where they want to go? How can you follow someone that doesn't know where they want to go? And by the way, the idea of being a leader is not someone charismatic or tall or male versus female or loud. A leader is a person who knows directionally where they're going, and you trust and like them enough to go with them.
And there's so much confidence and clarity with that, Craig, that people want to hitch their wagon to that. So yes, when I originally kind of crafted this, I was thinking the William Wallace, right, of Braveheart, like follow me, raise your hands, all war paint kind of thing. And that's probably more of the leadership style that I would like. But you're right. It's not just that. It's not the strongest. It's not the loudest. It's the more certain. I think certainty is just so attractive for team members. Like, we are going here, come hell or high water, burn the boats, right? And everyone wins along the way, kind of thing. That is inspiring.
Yeah, and I want to just address everyone listening to that. You don't have to have physical attributes or anything to be certain. You know, you can take William Wallace or you could take Mother Teresa. Both are leaders, both different styles.
Very
One's
good.
like, let's go burn the bridges and conquer everybody, and yeah, we'll burn the English or whatever. And Mother Teresa was quiet, demure, small, you know, but was felt throughout the world. Like, she was a true leader. Gandhi was a true leader. So for those that don't think of themselves as a leader, it's probably because you don't have the clarity of where you're going. So if you double down on your clarity, you can be the leader. You just look around and you'll see how many people are following you.
Yeah, it's like clarity plus strategic action is like the thing that is like it's like a pheromone for your team, right?
And I love the fact that you said pheromone, by the way, because people can smell it on you when you know what you're doing and you know that you're going to do it and you feel confident that you're going to get there. People want to sign up with you. You know, it's the most important thing. So just knowing where you want to go and communicating it. That's the key for leadership.
Yep. The second thing, I mentioned, we're going to go slightly quick through this, is knowing your numbers. You've thrown out a quote: if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. And I think this scares a lot of people. As a matter of fact, I had a call yesterday with someone who was like, hey, quite frankly, I don't really know how to read a balance sheet. Right? I don't really know what to do with this P&L. And I said, hey, first step was saying that you don't know how, and I appreciate that. Let's jump on a call and kind of unpack it. But I think I've said this over and over again, Craig, and I feel like I've iterated this so many times in this pod. There's a difference between knowing your numbers and knowing how to execute change in that, right? So first step is to identify where there's a problem, good or bad. Where there's a problem. Also to accentuate where things are good, right? Like, we are good here. We need to work on this. Let's do more of this, less of this, kind of thing. But there's key metrics to track. And obviously we talk about the Bulletproof KPIs, which is just a snapshot into what I feel is the barometer of the practice health. But there are other things to kind of dig into. But it is important to know your numbers. I really hate it. There was a famous dental influencer that everyone seems to go gaga about. out of New York. He has multiple locations and such. And he was like, I've never even read my P&L. I've never even looked at a balance sheet. I don't
I
have
was talking about budget specifically. I don't need a budget.
Yeah. And it's like, of course you're doing, you're prepping 1 million veneers a year. That output can overcome any kind of inadequacies from not knowing your numbers, right? Revenue always trumps that.
Yeah, there's a saying in business, sales solve everything. So if you are the laborer in your sales process and you can simply just work 7 days a week, you will solve all your problems. I mean, that's what you're bringing up a very important trap. So most dentists don't know their numbers or their
advice, right? And it was an irresponsible comment, in my opinion, because so many people are it's like, hey, just do what I'm doing and everything will be fine. It's like, what? Like, you're a unicorn, A, and B, you're giving people poor advice. So what we've seen time and time again, Craig, through Pearson's law is like, you get what you focus on kind of thing, right? And that's not his law verbatim, but when we turn the flashlight onto your P&L or onto the business of things or onto the metrics and you start tracking them, they start to improve in a way that behooves you. We've seen it time and time and time again. It's almost like I mean, have you ever seen it where you don't focus on something, or you haven't seen a masterminder focus on a metric and it doesn't improve?
No, it doesn't happen. What gets measured tends to improve. But I think you're bringing up a very important point that I want to just clarify and maybe just reiterate. Most dentists go through this natural progress where you are unsuccessful, you're not doing well, you learn new tools, tricks, techniques, and you become a wildly successful dentist, meaning you can generate millions of dollars with your own hands. And then you think, okay, I'm a dental entrepreneur and budgets and metrics don't pertain to me because I have an amazing skill and I could just go in and fix it. And you're right. And there's certain consultants that will tell you, hey, the reason why you're not making money is because you're not working 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week. If you add those days, you'll make money. So I think just clarifying what you want to become. If you want to be a dental entrepreneur means your business makes money without you, that guidance that influencer was talking about is not accurate.
It's actually hurtful. Right? Which could be antithetical for what you really wanted to achieve. Without that clarity, if a consultant comes in and says, hey, and there are many of these, hey, just add Saturdays and weekends and blah, 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 and you can achieve your goals. And you get intoxicated by the fact of, quote, achieve my goals. And you're like, okay, I'll just do it. Right? Like that was a conversation we had even yesterday, we know it was not a true, authentic dream. Anyway, so Craig, again, just as a recap, like when know your numbers, I think is whenever I used to hear that, it would always be intimidating. And it's like, shit, I got to walk around with like all my numbers in on a Post-it note in my pocket. And it's not know all of your numbers. To be familiar with them, know the range because things are going to fluctuate in your P&L, right? Know when you see 15% on your supplies, that's bad, right? Know what you need to have, and then know how to impact change from there. And I know I've said that 100 times, but that is where the rubber meets the road, right? Enacting change to create, P&Ls or lag indicators, right? It just tells you how you did in the past. What are going to lead indications are going to be through the day-to-day operations. Like, what do we need to do today to fix that? What do we need to do tomorrow to fix that?
And then there's another layer to know your numbers of how frequently you know them. So if you think your marketing spend is 2%, but really you haven't checked it in 8 months, and now it's 11%, that's a problem. And even your lag indicator, lag means looking in the rearview mirror, what happened last month. If it's 4 months old, it's an extremely lag. It's a major lag indicator, and that's a huge problem for you.
It's almost just academic at that point, right?
Yeah.
So like, that was interesting.
That was interesting, but there's nothing. I think we fixed it. So have your numbers accessible to you and make them timely. You should have a P&L that's done every month. I was talking to a dental practice, an iconic dental practice. Love these guys. The wife does the books. She's paid $50,000 a year to do the books, which is an inordinate amount of money for a bookkeeper. And the last time the P&L was done was like 18 months ago. It's totally academic. It's like looking at the sunken Titanic and trying to figure out if an iceberg hit it. You don't know what the hell happened.
One little tip thing that, Craig, I always had the intentions of wanting to review my numbers, right? But life happens, things get busy. It's Friday afternoon, it's Saturday, whatever. And you just forget. You have it on your calendar, or by the time it's time to kind of look at your numbers and know your numbers, you're exhausted. You've already made 400 decisions for the day. You have decision fatigue, and that's a wrap, right? You're just tired. So what I would encourage everyone to do is instead of going in, I call it push versus pull. So instead of going into your software on the weekend and then pulling down this data, right? You're gonna have someone on your team, whether it's your office manager or front desk admin or someone who's going to be accountable at the end of the day to emailing or pushing data to you, so that so now this data is whatever you are interested in, whatever you have determined that moves the needle. Now it is dripped to you on a daily basis, so that this data is pushed to you. You can analyze it, look at it, say, oh, that was a good day. Oh, that was a bad day. What do we need to change for tomorrow? What do we need to augment for tomorrow? So that was the inflection point for me, Craig, because it wasn't that I didn't want to do it. I always had best intentions. It was either I was tired, or I forgot, or I didn't have the time. And so this drip of numbers is a good way to be, and it's really helped a lot of people. And it doesn't have to be all fancy with dashboards. It can be as basic as an email with 5 little metrics in there. Here's what we did today. Here's the new patient scheduled, blah, 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 blah. Here's where we're trending to date, whatever it is. Okay. You get that email too? Because I know I showed you that forever ago. Do you get some sort of... You're on mute, Craig.
It's my first podcast. I'm sorry. No, I get an EOD. I copied exactly EOD. What you do. I do an EOD, and but I added a couple things. Like I always want to see trend analysis. Numbers without trends don't mean much to me. So where are we this year, this month versus last? Right? Yeah. But I always have that. How are we trending new patients?
I think that's good. So so what you're saying is basically you took what I was getting and you modified it for what really resonated with you.
Right. I just want to see year-over-year progress. I have a stipulation in my business that we're going to grow. I'm modest. I think if we grew 7, 8, 9%, I'm going to be happy. So therefore I budget for those types of expenses. Now, if I was willing, and Peter, just to kind of clarify the point that you made prior, if Peter and I were willing to just jump back in the chair, Peter, what was your top year? 2-3 million?
184.
Okay. So almost 2 million. If you would just be willing to trade some of the freedom that you have now, and just for 2026, only 1 year, do your 2 million, wouldn't your P&L look a lot sexier?
Yeah, look good.
Yeah. So again, getting back to that sales solve everything, make that distinction. Do you really want freedom, or do you want, you just get clarified.
What's the currency?
What's the currency? Do you want the freedom? Do you want the time? Do you want the time or freedom, or do you want the money?
Okay. And the last thing, the third thing, and again, these are not the 3 things and then that's a wrap. These are just 3 things that I think are important to think about. And something this last one I probably struggle with the most. And that is become a multiplier, right? And so this is the opposite of the term we've used all the time, nucleus of everything.
Yeah, a subtractor.
I was for so many times a subtractor, a diminisher, because I was the nucleus of everything, and it was speed over everything. And it was, I'll give you the answer. Let's roll. Next. And so when you start becoming the multiplier, it is where the lights go on, because obviously at scale, Craig, now you can't do it all. And if you think you can do it all at multiple locations, I have some bad news for you. It will wear you down. It will wear you down, even in a big location like yours, right? But if you want a great quality of life, if you want good happiness in your team where they're purposefully working, and you want to take some things off your plate at the same time, learn to become a multiplier. That book is actually really good as a core concept. And the strongest teams we have are the ones where the CEO is determined to create multipliers in the business, right? Attracting talent, right? I think that's actually probably the number 1 role, Greg. If we look at some of these on the screen, these 5 disciplines, being able to identify thoroughbreds, top talent, attract them into your ecosystem, and then give them the keys, not the complete keys to the kingdom, but give them a baby key, right? And say, hey, can you run this?
Yeah. I
Can
mean,
you do this?
the book here, as it, it's Multipliers by Wiseman, and it says the book identifies 5 key practices of multipliers, which are attracting talent, liberating their teams,
Liberating? Yeah.
liberating,
Yeah.
challenging them with stretch goals, fostering debate for sound decisions, and investing in people's growth. It provides a framework for leaders to become, quote, talent magnets who unlock the potential in others rather than being the know-it-all who stifles it. So here's the problem. When you start in business, you better be a know-it-all. You better know how to take a credit card. You better know how to, communicate with patients. You better know marketing because you're a team of one.
Yeah.
So everything that you learn in order to get you from levels 1 to 5 gets in the way when you want to take it from 6 to 10. So you have to unlearn it.
Wait. Say that. That was really good, right? So you, at a certain stage, you are the catalyst.
You have
are
to
the catalyst to everything
Yeah.
because you know this, you know how to do marketing, you know how to answer the phone, you know the verbiage. But
and you like to, and we like to pivot, and
wait,
you need
on.
to.
But hold on. And so in number 1, you're the catalyst, right? Everyone gets that from acceleration. You are the accelerant. In chapters 4, 5, and 6, or later chapters in said book, you are the impediment to progress because everything has to flow through you now. So it is an evolution of your entrepreneurialism, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and the first stage is you make the decisions, and when you make the decisions, people start to turn off their brains. Like, no matter what, Dr. Jones is going to tell us what to do anyway, so we might as well not think about it. And then you have to slowly start to untrain people to say, like, hey, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think?
I lament, Craig, so many years in which I feel, I talk about this lost decade, and I feel that, in dentistry, we've been pushing that terminology out on our socials and such. But I feel like my lost decade was really, the constituents of that were very heavy with me being the diminisher, I got this, just get in line, follow me kind of thing. Get in line, follow me, I'll do it. No, dummy, that's the wrong answer. Let me do it again kind of thing. And, when you look back, regret is worthless. You can't look back and regret anything because, it is what it is. But that is something that I wish, honestly, you had come into my life earlier because you were the counterweight to that kind of leadership for me. Right.
Yeah.
I've probably made you a little bit more, decisive, bold, like just do this kind of thing. Right. It countered you from like, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What's everyone think? Right. And me, maybe that's not the right metaphor, but in me,
it is because you didn't let the tail wag the dog. Like when that jackass doctor that was like holding me hostage like a bully, you said stand up for yourself, like stand up for the organization. You allowed me to be. I became more Boulden, and then you became more Spodak. Is what really happened. But as you're talking about the lost decade, it's a really harsh term and it's a bit sensational. And I want to just reframe it because, like, look, wouldn't it be great? The key to life is progress, right? We can all agree when we're learning and growing, we're happy.
The key to happiness, not the key to life. I think the key to happiness is progress.
Sorry, the key to happiness is progress. Thank you for clarifying that. So if we can agree that progress equals happiness, then won't this decade that we're in right now be at some ways a lost decade? Won't we look back in, at the completion of this chapter and say, damn, I wish I would have known these things. So I think the lost decade is a sensational way because we want to amplify the pain to help more people, because Peter and I were in bad places and that's why we started this. But in actuality, every decade that follows should be better. Therefore, the last decade should be a lost decade, I guess, if you're thinking.
Yeah. And you're right. I think we're putting that nomenclature around lost decade is because people just they just start sprinting towards unknown goals. They don't have any goals. They're just sprinting. They're out of school. They're just running. And it's like you lose that 10 years of time from not having clarity and a systematic approach to what you want to do with your career.
Look at the people who have really crushed it. And we'll use our friend Suleiman because we had him on the pod. We both know him. He had such clarity like year one in dental
school.
And not only in dental school, but like he was on his third office, and I forget the time, but it was like, I am going to grow offices all over the place. It wasn't like, let me go get all on X training. Let me learn surgery. Holy shit. 7 years later, I haven't seen my kids, in 3 years. He had laser focus. And when we look at entrepreneurs, I'm going to throw him in the dental entrepreneur class. But when you look at any other entrepreneur, they have that massive clarity and they don't waver. Amazon didn't go into like selling like fruits on the side of the road, or didn't, they were narrow and deep. They were an online retailer.
It's funny that you bring this up kind of at the tail end of this, and we'll wrap yours, because I actually had another pod prepared for the presentation talking about entrepreneurs outside of dentistry. And Craig, I wanted to do a pod on the signal versus noise, right? And there's so much noise, and what I see is our profession, right? Talking about entrepreneurialism, and so many great entrepreneurs, they found a way to get rid of noise in their life and focus on the signal. Right, the signal is the thing that you are obsessed with. It's going to drive the growth of said ecosystem. So maybe we'll do that on another short little pod. But signal versus noise is good, because so many things are noise, right? The doom scrolling, right? The phone calls, the text messages, the drama, the payroll in your office. Like this is noise. Signal is, demographic research, looking at multiple locations, learning marketing, like things like this. The signal versus noise. So anyway, bud, great stuff. I will encourage everyone, check out the website if you haven't, Bulletproof Dental Practice Podcast.com. I think it's
oh my goodness, I love it. You messed it up.
I stumbled.
You big dummy.
Well,
no, it's bulletproofdentalpractice.com.
I did a URL shortener, and that's why I stumbled. So I did a bulletproofdental.com too. So I just did a permanent redirect as well, because I had that domain. So I think that's why I stumbled, in fairness. But
no, you said bulletproofdentalpracticepod.com.
Oh, I did. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Look at
you got
that.
me.
Look at that. We're getting old, Pete.
Yes. Getting forgetful.
Yeah. I turned on my mute button.
The point of me bringing that up is that we have a lot of content on there. Obviously then the transcriptions from our podcast are on there, but also we have cool relationships with a lot of people. And we said, hey, we will put your business if you can give value to our listeners, meaning discounts. So there's vendors on there, there's credit card processing, and there's Trainial. All of our kind of vetted partners are on there to give discounts to just being a listener. One of the greatest things, and we talked about this so many times, Craig, and that's when we really we went with Dental Merchant and really saved a tremendous amount of money on our credit card processing. That was like the biggest no-brainer in the history of dentistry for me.
Yeah, for me it was.
I never looked at that kind of stuff. So if it's something that you want to get an audit of, just check out our partners at dentalmerchant.com, or they're on the website. That's just one illustration. But anyway, I just, we never talk about this stuff, Greg. Like we never quote unquote promoting or pushing things. It's just like, hey, thanks for another pod. See you later. And I was like, there's a bigger value stack for people inside this BP world.
Yeah, obviously, it's obvious to me, because people ask me all the time, like, are you getting crushed with credit card fees? I'm like, oh shit, I haven't told you about this. I didn't tell you, because I've been a client for like 3 or 4 years. Right. It's set it and forget it for us. So we're just seeing, massive savings. But for those that don't know, you don't have to just earn more, you have to keep more. And kind of going back to the conversation about budgeting, when you see a P&L and, your accountant looks at it like, oh, I guess you're taking a lot more credit cards now. And you're like, well, no, we're not. And they're like, oh, your fees are going through the roof. And then you look under the hood and you're like, damn, I'm taking less credit cards in total volume.
I'm getting charged more.
And I'm getting charged more. And then just to be able to flick a switch, because that's the exact opposite.
Say to you? He's like, I guess you're not taking as much now, huh?
He looks at my P&L. He's like, oh, it's interesting. I guess people aren't using credit cards anymore. I was like, well, what makes you say that? He's like, look at your fees. They've been wiped off. You have 80% less fees this year over last year. And I'm like, no. And I'm like, wow. For a minute, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then I look at my statements. I'm like, no, we're actually taking more, but we actually erased the fees. Right. So again, going back to your P&L and knowing your numbers, yes, you could just work 2 more days a week or 2 more days a month or whatever and fix it all. But that's not the goal. The goal is you didn't build a business. You're not listening to this podcast so you could work more. And heaven knows you don't want to incentivize your team on gross collections. They'll just make you work more. Hey, doc, I know you want to go skiing over January, but could you see 2 patients on Friday before you leave? Now you're working for them. So the goal here is to make a business that runs without you, at least what we aspire one to be. And part of that is being fiduciarily being responsible in a fiduciary sense to your business, making sure it can thrive. So saving fees is massive.
Yeah, as we wrap too, I just want to thank everyone. There has been an increase in reviews and forwards and shares, and you know that is it is not lost on us. So thank you for taking the time to do that, everyone. Don't forget, we've got a summit coming up too. Craig, I think you just did kind of a bumper for our pod talking about the early bird special that's coming up for our once annual summit. And this one's going to be in Scottsdale this year, right at the
Yeah,
Phoenician.
August 4th and 6th, I think.
Yeah, we can
do I have that right?
Summit.com. But anyway, you can use code EB 2026, early bird 2026, and you get $125 off of registration. But that's only through the end of the year because we were pretty highly oversubscribed last year in terms of attendance.
No seats
and this
left.
one too will sell out. We were having to, I think we were actually over code from a fire marshal perspective, but
Can
it's
you
okay.
say, yeah, it's okay.
You know,
We'll just
ask for
stick them in there.
forgiveness, not permission. Okay. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next time. And don't forget, stay bulletproof. See ya.
Take care, guys. Hey, everybody, we got an early bird special for our upcoming Bulletproof Summit. Use code EB2026 at the checkout to receive $125 off of registration. But the kicker is it expires December 31st. We're continuing to add to our speaker list of industry experts. We're pleased to welcome back Dr. Uche Odiatu, Deborah Nash, and on our main stage, we have Dr. Brian Harris and Dr. Jordan Davis, both recent guests of our Bulletproof Dental Practice podcast, as well as content from the Bulletproof team. You don't want to miss this year's summit. Remember, code EB, that stands for Early Bird 2026, for $125 off. The offer expires December 31st. Don't delay. Register today. Stay bulletproof, people.
Thanks everyone for watching today's episode of the Bulletproof Dental Practice Pod. We hope this conversation brought you a tremendous amount of perspective and reminded you of why you love dentistry. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button, drop us a comment, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss a future episode. Additionally, it would really help us if you could send this message to someone that you think would enjoy it. Until next time, keep pushing forward, keep leading boldly, and most importantly, stay bulletproof.